Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f yourself.
But
go f yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
well, let me ask you then.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
How do you think then about the economics of X? If part of the underlying model, at least today, and maybe it needs to shift, maybe the answer is it needs to shift away from advertising. If you believe that this is the one part of your business where you will be beholden to those who have this view, what do you do?
F-Y.
I understand that, but there's a reality too, right?
Yes. No.
I mean, Linda Yaccarino's right here, and she's got to sell advertising.
Absolutely. So, totally. No. Actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do, it's going to kill the company.
And do you think that
and the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
But those advertisers, I imagine, are going to say, we didn't kill the company.
Oh yeah.
They're going to say,
tell it to Earth.
But they're going to say, Elon, that you killed the company because you said these things, and that they were inappropriate things, and that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform, right? That's what they're going to say.
And let's see how Earth responds to that.
So this goes back to
we'll both make our cases,
right?
And we'll see what the outcome is.
What are the economics of that for you? I mean, you have enormous resources, so you can actually keep this company going for a very long time. Would you keep it going for a long time if there was no advertising?
I mean, if the company fails because of an advertiser boycott, it will fail because of an advertiser boycott. And that will be what bankrupted the company, and that's what everybody on Earth will know.
But what do you think then of this goes back to the idea of trust, though.
Then it'll be gone. And it'll be gone because of an advertiser boycott.
But you recognize that some of those people are going to say that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform. And I just wonder and ask you and think about that for a second.
Tell it to the judge.
But the judge is going to be...
the judge is the public.
The Global Alliance for Responsible Media, GARM, has shut down after Elon Musk's X, formerly Twitter, filed an antitrust lawsuit against it. Musk's lawsuit accused GARM of colluding to limit advertising on X, which impacted its revenue. This shutdown is seen as a victory for free speech, highlighting the ongoing battle over media oversight and corporate influence, particularly concerning efforts to censor conservative voices.
In a huge victory for Elon Musk, the Global Alliance for Responsible Media is discontinuing after Musk's X accused the group of boycotting the platform. The Global Alliance for Responsible Media, known as GARM, is a nonprofit group of advertisers led by the World Federation of Advertisers. GARM aims to help brands from having harmful or illegal content appear alongside ads. The lawsuit that X filed claimed GARM violated antitrust laws by coordinating with brands to persuade them not to spend money on X. The World Federation of Advertisers denied GARM's work violated antitrust laws, but said GARM did not have the financial resources to continue its operations while fighting X in court. In an email first obtained by Business Insider, the CEO of the World Federation of Advertisers said, quote, "This decision was not made lightly, but GARM is a non-for-profit organization and its resources are limited."
The House Judiciary Committee reacted to the news on X, writing, quote, "Big win for the First Amendment, big win for oversight." To which the CEO of X, Linda Yaccarino, said, quote, "No small group should be able to monopolize what gets monetized. This is an important acknowledgement and a necessary step in the right direction. I am hopeful that it means ecosystem-wide reform is coming." And the Daily Wire's Ben Shapiro also celebrated the decision, calling GARM a, quote, "censorship syndicate." Let's watch.
I testified before Congress just a few weeks ago about the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, which was effectively a censorship syndicate designed to shut down all advertising dollars to anyone on the right side of the aisle. Essentially a third-party delegated company that all these advertising agencies would go to. They would create a false standard for what was acceptable or non-acceptable material, and then they would tell advertisers that they simply should not and could not put their money with untrustworthy sources. All those untrustworthy sources were always on the right, of course.
I think this is great news. X is one of the few platforms that has allowed free speech to proliferate with massive censorship regimes from companies like Meta, shutting down conservative speech. And we know that GARM was specifically targeting conservative media outlets and conservative political commentators to try to demonetize their content so that they're not able to make a living with their posts the same way that commentators on the other side of the political aisle were. This was obviously a political hit job, and I think it's good news that Elon Musk forced them to back down.
I think that's comical given that Elon Musk has been shutting down every single demographic for Kamala Harris on Twitter over the last week, whether it's white men for Kamala Harris or Latinas for Kamala Harris or, all these little demo groups have been shut down, not to mention other progressives who've been shadow banned on Twitter. I mean, there are plenty of shadow banned accounts, and probably including myself, to be honest, because they shut down one of my videos that I produced last year involving Puerto Rico. So, I don't think that conservatives are the ones being targeted. This is a member-based group. It has over 100 members. It's a nonprofit. Nonprofits can't be political by law as a 501c3. So I think this was a tool, using the courts as a tool against nonprofits which do not have the funding. Now, the companies have the funding. The companies could independently say, we do not want to put our brands at risk by associating with Alex Jones's account on Twitter, which is full of hate speech.
Big companies and ad networks have a lot of power over what gets reported in the media because they control the money. During the pandemic, some ad networks would refuse to run ads on websites that covered certain controversial topics, making it hard for those sites to survive financially.
These companies can independently do so. It's sad that this nonprofit, which only has 2 staffers, and is already facing legal obstacles with Jim Jordan's committee in Congress right now, and now Elon Musk is saying that he's going to go after them with RICO. It's outrageous. Elon Musk has a lot of money. He's doing whatever he can to try to get these advertisers back. But I don't think shutting down this organization is going to get the advertisers back. I think him no longer supporting hate speech online and conspiracy theorists online and giving them more sway in the algorithm, that is what is going to give its advertising revenue back.
Okay. I'll start with the question about the Kamala Harris accounts being shut down. I'm looking at White Dudes for Harris right now with a blue check mark next to it with 124,000 followers. But I'll check out those other groups you mentioned.
It was quite a few. Yeah.
Okay.
But I might have reinstated it.
I guess the fundamental question here is, what is hate speech and what is a conspiracy theory? And does engaging in your subjective interpretation of hate speech warrant being censored online? And because hate speech is a subjective category, one person's hate speech is another person's normal political speech. And we've seen in the past how normal conservative political thought, like saying that illegal immigrants who come to the country illegal should be deported, is considered hate speech by some on the left. I don't think that should be censored. That's something that the majority of Americans agree with. And we also know that in the past, we had a censorship campaign against the New York Post for running a story about Hunter Biden's laptop, which was verified by national security experts who found that this laptop was not manipulated, that it was not Russian disinformation, despite that letter from 51 intelligence assets who claimed that it was. They did not have access to any of their social media accounts prior to the 2020 election because they dared to run this story. So when you have these so-called misinformation experts applying the misinformation label to things that are factually true, that becomes a serious problem for the ability for people to have open inquiry, open debate, free speech online, which in many ways is now the public square and plays a huge role in how people get their information. X is now the #1 ranked website as to where people get their news from. And I think we have to trust the consumer to be able to determine for themselves what is true and what is false.
Trust the consumer. I mean, the algorithms are created and written by conservative-leaning white men. I mean, this is not just on X. This is also on Google. When Google
conservative-leaning white men write the algorithms on Google that doesn't allow you to search for Trump's assassination attempt.
So when Google hired someone to come in and assess their algorithms and whether or not they were racist and sexist, guess what? She came out and said, this is a black woman who said, yes, they're racist and sexist after extensive review, and Google fired her. I mean, there are several cases. The same thing with Twitter.
I'm sure she had no incentive to say that.
Well, she provided the data and the evidence. I mean, incentive. It's called, this is the reality of how algorithms are written.
I would like to know how she
why is it
determined
that
that it's
conservative
racist?
accounts are much more popular online? An algorithm that is written...
Because people like their content and they consume it more.
Sure, I'm sure. But 5 years ago, before the algorithms changed, they were not as popular.
That's not true.
Recently, X, formerly Twitter, filed a lawsuit against groups like the World Federation of Advertisers, WFA, and GARM, accusing them of organizing illegal ad boycotts that cost the platform billions. It's frustrating because this kind of control over what we see and hear in the media has been going on for years, and now it's finally coming to light.
Absolute epic victory. See, there are some good things that can happen out there from these Capitol Hill meetings outside of Fox News soundbites. Many of you have been following the story of the world's most influential advertising cartel on the planet versus Elon Musk and Rumble, versus X and Rumble. Now, how we got here was during some Capitol Hill hearings, it was revealed that an agency called GARM, which is an arm of the WEF, controlled somewhere around 90 cents of every dollar on the internet. Essentially, if you were a big advertiser, you were like, hey, GARM, where should we advertise? And GARM was telling people you should not advertise your products to conservatives. In particular, you should not advertise your products on Rumble. You should not advertise your products on X. You should not advertise your products on Steven Crowder's channel or the Daily Wire or any platforms that allow these people to exist. We knew this as a absolute fact due to several emails that were submitted in evidence. So everyone basically said, yeah, great, Capitol Hill meetings, everyone gets their sound bites, nothing's going to change. But then Monday, Elon Musk and Rumble combined forces and sued GARM, as well as many people in the department. And as of right now, you're going to want to get that like button ready. GARM has collapsed. They have shut down all operations in response to this lawsuit. This is massive. This is fighting back your pressure on corporations. And I want to tell you how this was won, because it wasn't just the lawsuit. It was your pushback too. The reason this worked is because you had X and Rumble with the money. Then it was revealed that Dunkin' Donuts and Guinness and Smirnoff and Aviation Gin and all these companies had been working with GARM and had been specifically not advertising on certain people's platforms because they were told that that was the case. They were told that you shouldn't advertise here by GARM. That's the illegal part. That's the grounds for the lawsuit part. Now, a lot of people are trying to say, well, they're just dissolving so that they can avoid, a lawsuit by saying, hey, we don't even exist, bro. We don't exist. That's not going to work. And the coverage around this has been absolutely amazing. What happened was, after Dunkin' and Aviation Gin and Smirnoff and Guinness and did I say Dunkin' Donuts and stuff, once they got exposed, what happened is probably you all started boycotting them. And then they went back to GARM and they were like, yo, you leaked our emails. Now we're suffering a massive boycott. I'm in the middle of one of my biggest days ever at Coffee Brand Coffee because of promo code SWITCH, 15% off site-wide. People are switching off Dunkin' and buying Coffee Brand Coffee, which you should do as well. We have our full lineup linked in the description below. This is a massive win. after Chris Pavlovski, by the way, everyone's giving credit to Elon and X. Chris Pavlovski and Rumble were standing right there too. Breaking, the World Federation of Advertisers is shutting down GARM after Rumble and X filed lawsuits against them. What are they hiding? This is the most significant anti-censorship win in history. This is also, not in history, but in recent history. And this is also in a week in which a court ruled that Google is a de facto monopoly and may force them to open up the default search engine on Android phones to competitors. Wouldn't that be great for YouTube competitors too? This via Zero Hedge. GARM advertising cartel shuts down 48 hours after X and Rumble file lawsuit. 48 hours after X and Rumble filed the lawsuit against Global Alliance for Responsible Media, which is a censorship cartel, and several members of the World Federation of Advertisers announced that they will shutter GARM, saying in a statement reported by Business Insider, quote, "They're a not-for-profit organization with, quote, limited resources." Here's the facts. They may be a quote-unquote not-for-profit in the same way that Media Matters as a not-for-profit, and in the same way that Southern Poverty Law Centers are not for profit, but they still have millions of dollars flow in from pro-censorship, anti-standing on your own opinions people, and they use them as censorship tools against everyday Americans, against people that just want to consume content. You see this tweet, GARM, the advertising industry censorship cartel, is shutting down. 2 days after X and Rumble Video filed a lawsuit against it, 8 days after FFO Freedom exposed its members billions of dollars in government contracts. 1 month after Jim Jordan and the Judiciary Committee released its first report on the cartel. This is a massive win. Huge shout out to Elon and X.
Elon Musk and Rumble teamed up to sue GARM, a group accused of controlling online ad dollars and pushing companies not to advertise on conservative platforms like X, Rumble, and others. The lawsuit claimed that GARM was illegally steering ad money away from these platforms. As a result, GARM shut down all operations. The lawsuit also brought attention to big brands like Dunkin' Donuts and Smirnoff, who were pressured by GARM, leading to boycotts against them. Elon Musk filed a major lawsuit against advertisers and groups like GARM, accusing them of organizing an illegal boycott against Twitter, now X.
I joined X because I believe in the power of the global town square. It's users like you, people of all backgrounds and opinions, who make X indispensable. You deserve an open platform where your views can be expressed without restriction and without fear. To all of you who have been part of this transformative journey that we're on, thank you. Rest assured, X has never been more committed to innovating and expanding all of our global town square.
Ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino announced yesterday that the company was filing a major lawsuit against several advertisers and groups that she accused of organizing an illegal boycott. Let's watch a bit more from this hostage-style announcement video and break down the lawsuit. Take a look.
Hey, everybody. I was shocked by the evidence uncovered by the House Judiciary Committee that a group of companies organized a systematic illegal boycott against X. It is just wrong, and that is why we are taking action. Today, we filed an antitrust lawsuit against the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, 4 of its key members, and the World Federation of Advertisers. These organizations targeted our company and you, our users. The evidence and facts are on our side. They conspired to boycott X, which threatens our ability to thrive in the future. That puts your global town square, the one place that you can express yourself freely and openly, at long-term risk. People are hurt when the marketplace of ideas is constricted. No small group of people should be able to monopolize what gets monetized.
In the lawsuit filed yesterday, X claims that advertisers such as Unilever, Mars, CVS, and more conspired to collectively withhold billions of dollars in advertising revenue through a World Federation of Advertisers industry initiative. And according to The Verge, to join the WFA's initiative called the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, or GARM, companies must agree to withhold advertising from social platforms that aren't compliant with the organization's safety standards. As Yaccarino alluded to, they argue GARM organized an advertiser boycott of Twitter to coerce the company into following the initiative's safety standards, despite the fact that X itself announced last month they were rejoining GARM. We're excited to announce that X has reinstated our relationship with the WFA Marketers Global Alliance for Responsible Media. As of today, X is included as a member of GARM here. X is committed to the safety of our global town square and proud to be part of the GARM community. That was July 1st, 2024. 9 days later, the House Judiciary Committee released a report titled GARM's Harm: How the World's Biggest Brands Seek to Control Online Speech. The report said GARM had attempted to influence the kinds of content that appeared online by starving disfavored content or even entire platforms of advertising dollars needed to survive.
In response to claims that advertisers were withholding billions in ad revenue due to GARM's influence, Musk argued that this is anti-competitive and threatens free speech. Critics argue that advertisers have the right to choose where to spend their money, especially if they want to avoid associating with harmful content on the platform. Musk's bold statements, including telling advertisers to go F yourself, highlight the tension between his claims of defending free speech and the reality of running a profitable business.
Don't advertise. If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go yourself. But go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is.
It is just wrong.
X filed a federal antitrust suit against an advertising trade group and 4 of its members. The companies, which include CVS Health and M&M maker Mars Inc., were part of the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, a nonprofit that helped advertisers avoid inadvertently supporting harmful and illegal content. I say all this in the past tense because X sued the nonprofit into oblivion. Following the lawsuit, the World Federation of Advertisers announced GARM would be shutting down.
These organizations targeted our company and you, our users. The evidence and facts are on our side. They conspired to boycott X, which threatens our ability to thrive in the future.
When Musk bought the social site, he promised to loosen restrictions to adhere to his free speech absolutist beliefs. The site faced criticism for allowing hate speech and false content on the platform. Musk welcomed back a number of users who had been banned from Twitter in the platform's previous life. Musk himself has shared election misinformation that made more than 1 billion impressions. Oh, and then there's Grok. Despite his firm stance on advertisers,
go yourself.
Musk suspected something fishy was going on when they didn't buy ads on his site. So he lobbied Congressman Jim Jordan and other conservative lawmakers to look into the trade group's practices. Eventually, Jordan subpoenaed GARM for documents to prove an anti-conservative bias. And last month, it issued a report called GARM's Harm: How the World's Biggest Brands Seek to Control Online Speech. But how does a group of advertisers deciding a website is not fit to advertise equate to anti-competitive practice?
They're making ultimately a very simple argument.
We turn to the Michael Jordan of antitrust, Doug Melamed, who brought a successful antitrust case against Microsoft back in the 90s. He said X's argument would essentially be that of price fixing.
Let's take a more kind of simple story. Suppose a bunch of customers, let's say supermarkets, got together and said to the Coca-Cola company, we've agreed that we're not going to distribute any products sold in bottles of smaller than 20 ounces. I think that would probably be an antitrust violation. Even though they didn't specify the price, they specified an important term of, in effect, of the contract between the buyer and the seller. And competing buyers shouldn't do that.
He is accusing them of organizing an illegal boycott that significantly impacted X's advertising revenue. This comes after Musk's earlier bold stance where he told advertisers to go fuck themselves if they tried to blackmail him with money. However, when these advertisers actually stopped buying ads on the platform, Musk changed his approach and pushed for legal action. The lawsuit has already forced GARM to shut down, but the legal battle isn't over. If Musk wins, it could lead to a court order preventing advertisers from coordinating similar boycotts in the future, and there could be claims for damages, though proving the financial impact might be challenging.
Musk's lawsuit claims 18 brands stopped advertising on Twitter from November to December 2022, and dozens more that were part of the coalition cut back on ad spending in 2023. The company's outspoken owner posted, "We tried peace for 2 years. Now it's war."
I think he has a plausible case. I don't know that he can, I don't know what he'll be able to show in terms of real damages, but he has a plausible case because I think the kind of theory I've just tried to paraphrase might have some traction in an antitrust context.
Melamed says there's still a high burden of proof. If advertisers had just agreed on a code of best practices and could still operate independently and advertise with X, then it wouldn't really pass antitrust muster.
But if they agreed, we won't put ads on X until they change in the following specific ways, then I think there is an agreement that probably, on the face of it, would suggest some antitrust concern.
He says it's harder to imagine how the advertisers' actions harm competition between X and other sites.
Because even if the implication is that these companies might wind up spending a little more advertising on other platforms, I'm not sure that's true at all, but even if it were true, it's probably not enough to change the basic structure of the market.
Conservative social media platform Rumble joined in on X's fight against GARM this week.
If they don't like what some speech might happen on Rumble or X, they can say, we're not going to touch that, which then causes advertising rates to go higher because now they're only accessing a certain portion of the market and then drives higher prices for their shareholders and their brands.
Twitter, now called X, claims to be an open platform for free speech, but there's tension because it also needs some level of moderation. If it acts like a newspaper, it should follow the same rules, but as a free speech platform, it doesn't. The problem is that Elon Musk has the final say on what content stays or goes, which means free speech is based on his decisions. This raises issues, especially when controversial figures like Alex Jones are reinstated despite being labeled harmful in court. On the other hand, X's moderation has become inconsistent after Musk fired much of the staff responsible for managing content, leaving questions about who decides what's acceptable or not.
Elon Musk, Twitter, and Rumble, the other video platform that you're not allowed to talk about or promote over here on YouTube, apparently. That's what I've heard. As people said, like, if you talk about the other platform, the green one, that YouTube gets ass mad because they're in a legal entanglement or something. Anyway, they alleged that they were being targeted by this GARM organization, that they were boycotting, telling their advertisers to boycott those platforms for political reasons and mostly for competition reasons, because, they're direct competitors to, YouTube and Facebook and whatever. But these organizations, we talked a little bit about it, and I guess I can speak to it as, as a website owner. There are multiple watchdog groups out there that work with the big advertising agencies and the big advertising providers to make sure that respectable companies aren't advertising on the wrong websites or advertising on the wrong videos. And, people, the ad agencies, they listen to them. They do. They say, hey, don't advertise on this because you're going to be bankrolling hate. They're not going to do it. Oh, we don't want controversy. And that's kind of what happened. In the case of Twitter, everybody kind of stopped advertising on Twitter once Musk bought it and rebranded it as X. And, one of these watchdogs, it was at Media Matters, I think. They went and they actually manipulated the algorithm to make it look like they were, like Disney was directly advertising on anti-Semitic content or real dicey, white supremacist content or whatever the hell it was, right? And they did that deliberately. And then they went running to Disney like, look, Disney, you're bankrolling. Hey, and then Disney's like, oh, we're not going to do that. We can't do that. So then they pulled all their advertising. Really, it was more political, I think, because Musk has gone further right in recent years, and they don't like that. They loved him. They loved him when he was the guy who built electric cars. Right. But now they don't like him very much. So, especially since he decided that X is going to be a freer, it's not completely free speech, but a freer speech platform.